to
September 5th, 2024. Ravens, Chiefs, Week 1. That and much more on this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. Yes, welcome back to episode 239 of the Purple Rain Podcast. The Maurice Kennedy episode, the Brandon Carr episode, the Chris Johnson, the Alan Ricard, the Mozzie Wilkins, and the Danny Woodhead episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. Some fantastic names I just named for number 39. But real quick, happy birthday to Talon Wallace. Game hero against the Rams last year, so May 13th. Happy birthday to you, Talon Wallace. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. Follow this guy on Instagram, on Twitter or X at Sutton Def. Follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod and on Twitter or X at simplyas10. And most importantly, our lovely sponsor, Manscaped. So I checked the weather. This weekend it was pretty cold out, not gonna lie, but I see the weather is gonna be sticking around the 70 degrees, maybe hit the 80s. So you know what that means. Talking about Manscaped. Ball deodorant. Got to keep yourself clean, keep yourself, looking good because you don't want to be sweating down there. You don't want to have no itches, none of that. So he's Manscaped. Right. Go in there, get yourself what you feel is perfect for you. Use code PRP, 20% off, whole order, free international shipping. But it is a Monday, so happy new week to you, Sutton.
Yes.
Yeah. How was your weekend, first and foremost? And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are watching as well.
Yes, absolutely. Happy Mother's Day. Happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers who are watching the show. We truly do appreciate y'all. We wouldn't be anywhere, literally, without the mothers in this world. So definitely happy Mother's Day to you all. But I'm doing great, Alex. I can't complain. I woke up this morning and I saw the news that the Ravens will be playing the Kansas City Chiefs week 1, literally opening night. So Thursday night football on September 5th against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. It's going to be a rematch of the AFC Championship game. And, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of indifferent about it. When I woke up and I saw that news, I was like, you know what? I don't care. It's just first game of the season. I think, who did the Chiefs play on opening night last year? Wasn't it the Lions? Did they play the Lions on opening night last year? Yeah, it feels like they throw the Chiefs on opening night every year, it seems like nowadays. And now we're the next up to go against them because in the AFC Championship game, it was such a weird matchup where the Ravens didn't really give their best punch, right? They didn't really give their best shot. So a lot of people feel like there was a lot left on the table there in terms of how good that game could have been or how good that matchup could have been. And I agree, but for me, it's just like I really don't care about what the Ravens do until January. Like I'm still standing on that. It's still kind of fresh for me, the AFC Championship loss. So like whether or not we blow the Chiefs out by 45 points on that Thursday night football game, or we win by 3 points, so we lose, I'm indifferent about it, Alex, because it's just like who cares, right? We know we're a good regular season team, but I'll stop talking. I want to get your take on it. How did you feel about the Ravens, going against the Chiefs on week 1 opening night?
You're not wrong, honestly. I put a tweet out earlier. I said 1-0. I have us winning the game.
Yeah.
It's regular season, but we've been a regular season team 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. We did, get to the championship this year. That was our goal, I think, set. But when you look at the team we had, expectations change as the season goes on. So it felt like a Super Bowl. But this one, whether we win or lose or draw, once January comes, I want a running back getting, more than 6 carries, Derrick Henry or Keaton Mitchell or Rasheen Ali, whoever that may be in the backfield, Justice Hill. Hopefully it's Derrick Henry. But yeah, I'm right there with you. We can win this game and I'll be happy. But in the back of my mind, I'll have the same thought that when they came into our building, I saw it on X today or on Twitter, them throwing Justin Tucker stuff. They came into our building, right? And they disrespected us. No doubt about it. I don't care, where Tucker, is kicking the ball at. They 100% disrespect us in our own stadium, and we let them. Roquan Smith, love him, giving this great speech, non-existent that game. A lot of players that game were non-existent, offensively too. Our running backs just didn't exist. But I'm with you. Show me in January. That's when the real teams show up. So I have us winning. I'll tell us that right now. I have us winning that. But yeah, when it comes late January, I want to see it.
Right, and it almost feels like you bring up a good point about actually running the football more than 6 times. It almost feels like you have to kind of overcorrect for what happened in the AFC Championship game in this game in Week 1 on Thursday night. You have to run the football. You have to force feed Derrick Henry, and you know what? I'm honestly not a big fan of that because I think we have Derrick Henry for the postseason, kind of like we had Odell Beckham for last season. Last offseason we got him for January and on. So I just don't know what the game plan is going to be. I don't want us to run into the dirt. We saw what happened with J.K. Dobbins in Week 1 last year. We just not trying to jinx anything, right? But it's just, I don't know, man. I just don't know how I feel about this matchup. I guarantee you, watch us play the Steelers Week 2. Watch it be Chiefs and then Steelers, just like that, back to back.
Yeah.
Of course, schedule drops on Wednesday. We will be covering that on our Thursday episode. But man, this matchup really, it intrigues me. It intrigues me for sure. The whole world's going to be watching. Don't know if Taylor Swift is going to be there or not. What do you think about that?
I hope she's there. I would love for that to happen. I love for, we have Kyle Hamilton.
Well, yeah, they're going to drop the banner, right?
They have to. It's their night. Super Bowl night. And I'll be honest, I didn't think I wanted us to get them Week 1, mainly because, Rashee Rice won't be playing. That's number one. He won't be playing. That's a given. But I thought they were going to give it to the Texans because I think the Texans are the new Lions. They were a laughing stock the year before, and they looked good last year. Now, re-up, got Diggs, had a good draft, made some good signings. I'm like, okay, well, maybe they'll make Stroud Mahomes and then leave us for later in the year. But I'm kind of shocked by this. I didn't think we were going to get the Week 1 matchup. But the good news is I hope it's our only Thursday night football game of the year. I don't think it will be, but I hope it is. It's not like we're playing Sunday then Thursday. It's a Thursday then a Sunday, Week 1 and Week 2. So if this is our only Thursday night game of the year, it could be a blessing in disguise. I just thought about that. Not gonna lie.
That's a good point.
K-Dog brings a good point. Holly will be playing.
Yeah. No, before we get to Hollywood, because I made a tweet about that earlier, but you make a good point about, no more Thursday night, primetime games. I definitely think that we're going to get at least 4 more primetime games, and one of them is going to be a Thursday night game. It's going to be somewhere in week 11, week 12, something like that. I promise you. We're going to get that. But I think we're going to have 5 total primetime games. And, I'm kind of solidifying that prediction here with the NFL announcing today that the Ravens will be playing the Chiefs in Week 1 on opening night. So I think that the NFL has high expectations for the Ravens. I will say that's what this says. What I think this says about the Ravens, they have high expectations. They want to put Lamar Jackson on television as much as possible this year. They saw what he did last year. He's a 2-time MVP. The Ravens are always knocking on the door of, deep playoff runs and Super Bowls, just like we were last year, literally only losing by 7 in the AFC Championship game. I think that's a main reason. That's a big factor in why we're running this back Week 1, opening night, why we have to see it again, because that game was so close. And if the Ravens just made a slight little tweak in their game plan, the game could have been totally different, right? So, yeah, and Alex's covers. Yeah, I mean, I still feel the pain. It's still kind of too soon for me too, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, and you bring up us having, probably 5 primetime games, 1,000,000%. I know we played the Cowboys in Dallas. Low key, that could be the Thanksgiving game. I'm feeling. I think that could be the other Thursday game. It feels like a really good Thanksgiving game. Your night game, Ravens Cowboys, and just looking at who we play. Eagles, Bills. Even without Diggs, it's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, same draft class. And I will guarantee you this: at the end of this game, it'll be Mike Tirico and it'll be Al Michaels. No, I'm sorry, it'll be Chris Collinsworth, and one of them is going to say, "Oh, this could be the AFC Championship this year." The preview. It's going to happen. It's when Mahomes and Lamar are going to be shaking hands. That's going to happen. But I would go 5 primetime games, and Chargers would definitely be one of them. I'm willing to bet a lot on that.
Wait, you think Chargers again?
Yeah, Ravens Chargers. Oh yeah, with Harbaugh as their head coach, 1 million.
Oh
That's gonna be
yeah,
it.
John versus Jim. Yeah,
Yeah,
Harbaugh for sure.
and Greg
Yeah,
Roman.
you're right.
Come on now,
Mm,
our best friend.
yeah, that's a story right there. You're right. You're right. I agree. Um, okay, so that is us covering the Ravens taking on the Chiefs in Week 1 on opening night. It's going to be a lot of emotions. It's going to be an emotional roller coaster. I know I'm going to go into that game acting like I don't care because it's not January, and I know what the regular season means for the Ravens. We're going to steamroll most teams, and then January, it's a different story. But this game, it actually really, really means something. It seems like the NFL wants that rivalry, right? You remember a couple of years ago when the Bills versus Chiefs, the big AFC rivalry. It seems like the NFL now is trying to push the Ravens versus the Chiefs being the big AFC rivalry, which I respect that because it seems like they're respecting the Ravens a little bit. I like that. But again, man, just playing them so early in the season, I could see us beating them by 20 points, 30 points, like really showing, and avenging that loss in the AFC Championship game. And then come January, we see them again. It's a totally different story. I can see that happening. That happens all the time in this league. So, yeah.
Yeah, remember the year it happened when there was the Chiefs and Patriots Week 1 and like the Kareem Hunt breakout game, and like
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
washed the freaking Patriots, and then it's like the week it's cool and all, but let me see it when it gets cold outside. Not when guys
Right.
on the sidelines wearing shorts and a shirt.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into there's a couple of other matchups that got leaked, right? Saw on Twitter, so I'm gonna go ahead
Yeah,
and navigate here and see which other ones came out. Thought I saw one about here we go. Yeah, the Cowboys are gonna play the Browns
yeah.
week 1, 4 o'clock. And that'll be the first game that Tom Brady is gonna be broadcasting and starting his commentating. That's an interesting thing right there, to be honest with you. I'm kind of excited to hear how Tom Brady is going to, take on the second half of his career as a broadcaster. What about you?
I am too. I like Greg Olson and Kevin Burkhardt, but hearing Brady the way he kind of talked about, I remember there was the one clip. He's like, defenses are kind of at the lower hand now. There's so many rules going against them, and I'm interested in hearing his point of view because I think it'll be pretty non-biased. With offense and defense, and hearing
Right.
that. So I'm looking forward to it. And then, did you watch the roast Tom Brady by any chance?
No, I saw like clips of it, but I did not watch the full thing. No.
Okay, yeah, and it's like I think since he's retired, you're seeing more of his personality. So I'm looking forward to hearing that in the color commentary. But of course, it's Cowboys. They got to be Tom Brady's first game. The team that beat him in his last game ever. So it makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. But I'm looking forward to it. Are you?
Yeah, I definitely am. I think what I'm comparing Tom Brady to just kind of subconsciously in terms of like a broadcaster, I'm going to be comparing him to Tony Romo, right? Because he's like the most recent quarterback who has turned broadcaster, who has really, really captured my attention. You know what I mean? As a viewer of the sport, as somebody who's been watching the sport for over 20 plus years. Tony Romo really does a job, I think, giving really good insight. Of course, the predictions were always fun until the NFL told him to stop doing that a whole bunch. But I want to see what Tom Brady really brings to the table. Is it the wittiness? Is it the insight? Is it the moxie? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Tom Brady can deliver. But it's nonetheless talking about the matchup though. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. You think about how their season ended, just in heartbreak, right? In the round last season. Uh, man, I just you kind of or was it the divisional round? Or was it the wild card that they lost?
Wild card
That was a wild card, right? Yeah, that was a wild card against Green
Packers.
Bay. Yeah. Um, man, you really don't know what to say about the Dallas Cowboys year in and year out. It really does not matter like what's going on with their roster, who they added, who they didn't add, who they lost. Like it's always the same outcome. You know what I mean? I do know that they re-signed Zeke again for I guess like a
Yep.
farewell tour of some sort.
Yep.
But I don't know what they expect what that's gonna do. But Dak Prescott is somebody that I wanted to bring up, and I want to get your opinion on him, Alex, because he was one who had a really good season last year, and he was
Yeah.
in talks for MVP, things like that. till the season ultimately fell short in the wild card round. So what do you think happens with Dak Prescott? Do you think he continues to take steps forward and the Cowboys take steps forward as well? Do you think that they start to regress? What do you think happens there?
Great question. I don't know who Dak Prescott is. There are some times when you watch him, 450, 4 touchdowns. Dude is literally just throwing dimes. Nothing is going wrong. Everything is great. CD is just making catches. CD's wide open. He's throwing them open. They have the tight ends open. They have all these guys. And then there's other games I watch, and it looks flat. And I just don't know if it's him, the offense. Because, like, when they played the Buccaneers in 2022, those playoffs, he looked amazing. He went to Tampa and just blew them out the stadium. Next game, different Dak. I mean, he's, to me, a top 12 quarterback, I think. I think that's fair to say. I'm not sure about, what people say. But, like, the money he's commanding, we just saw what Jared Goff got. Goff got 4 years, $212 million. What, 53 a year is what it is?
Yep. We're going to get into that next.
I don't think Dak's worth that. Yeah, I don't think Dak's worth that. I think a quarterback his caliber, 40 to 45. But it's just like the history of the Cowboys, unfortunately. I don't think it's just I feel like they are a cursed franchise from now on. They have all the success. They sold out their soul for the success, in the 80s, 90s.
The 90s.
And now it's just gone. Yeah, it's gone. So I don't think Mike McCarthy is the guy for the job. That's a big thing too. So I like Dak. I just don't think he's a guy that can get you to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, when you look at Dak Prescott, it's like you said, you like him, but you don't love him. You know what I mean? I feel like you have to have a quarterback who has kind of like that X factor, like a Patrick Mahomes, like a Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? Like one of those guys who kind of has that equalizing effect. And I just don't feel like Dak Prescott does that. Yes, he's very efficient during the regular season, but and so is Lamar Jackson. But the difference between Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott is Lamar Jackson has that secret weapon, again, that X factor. That at any time, at any given moment, he can break the game with, and it doesn't really seem like Dak Prescott has that ability. Again, he's efficient. He does a good job of getting the ball in the hands of his playmakers, like a CeeDee Lamb, and so on and so forth. But again, the Cowboys, they peak at the wrong times consistently every single season. You know what I mean? I thought we were bad with it. But they've been bad with it since for the past 30 years, damn near, peaking at the wrong time. They're always really, really good in like the beginning and like the middle of the season. Then they start to kind of like regress a little bit towards the end of the season, but they still get in the playoffs. That's how they got in the wild card last year. And then they just fall completely flat. So we'll see what happens with them this year. But, this year, this opening game against the Browns will be a very good litmus test, I think, for both teams, to be honest with you, and seeing what they have to offer for this season. So let me see. Let's go ahead and change.
You bring that with the Cowboys. You bring it with the Cowboys too. The peaking at the right time. That's the perfect way to put it, because their first couple of games, like you said, Dak's an MVP conversation. He's putting up 4 or 5 touchdowns a game. CD looks amazing, and then just falls apart, and you don't know what it is. And like I said, I just look at and we talk about an X factor. Does Brock Purdy have an X factor? Do we think?
No, I don't think he has an X factor. I just think that he has a really, really good supporting cast, and that's also something that I wanted to get into next as well. He's got really good coaches. But go ahead, finish your point. My bad.
I think Dak and the Cowboys, they get nervous when they go down. I think the Lions went up 2 scores on the Niners in the championship game. They really didn't, bat an eye. Play their game, ended up winning the game. Cowboys go down, and it just falls apart, and just the Packers just go touchdown. Aaron Jones run them through them. So I think coaching and like you said, the supporting cast as well. But you had CeeDee Lamb, and you had a good group of guys around him, and you just couldn't get it done. So I mean, that's a statement right there, Boz. Brock has been getting it done, and he just doesn't look he panics in the big moments either, and he doesn't make the throws that could get picked off. He'll make the safe throw.
Now, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Alex. Like, I would love to sit up and say, yes, Brock Purdy is definitely better than Dak Prescott. But here's my thing. I feel like we have not seen quite enough of Brock Purdy Because again, he's kind of like Dak in the sense that they're both very efficient. They can make 95 to almost all of the throws. You know what I mean? They don't make a whole lot of mistakes, that sort of thing. But Brock Purdy has had more postseason success, especially more recently. But my thing is, if you swap the two, right? If you put Dak on the 49ers, would Dak have the same level of success that Brock Purdy has had thus far? What do you think?
With Kyle Shanahan? Yeah. I think Dak's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. 100%. With Ayuk, with Debo, with Kittle, Juwan Jennings, CMC, I 100% think so. Dak's best year came when Zeke was in his prime.
Speaking of that, actually, I wanted to pull up this list here, which is the most expensive wide receiver rooms in 2024. And if you look at who's at the top of that list, it's the 49ers with $55 million allocated to the wide receiving room, followed by, of course, all the other teams. The Cowboys are third on that list with $51 million. If you want to know where our Ravens are at, we're way down here at 27, $20.3 million a year on the wide receivers. So you can see, I guess that question kind of gets a little bit more interesting, right? Like if you flipped Dak and Brock Purdy, if you flip teams, how would each other perform? Because they have like a similar talent level in the wide receiver room, right? I mean, would you say that? Is it close with the 49ers and the Cowboys?
So I just pulled up the Cowboys depth chart. They're starting the receivers: CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert. That's $51 million. You look at the Niners: Ayuk, Debo, Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings arguably maybe was their best receiver in the Super Bowl. Don't shoot me. Threw a touchdown, caught a touchdown.
Fair.
And then, I mean, that's 55 mil compared to the 51 for what? 3.8 more million. That's a huge upgrade, I think, from what the Cowboys have. But I think CD is the best out of the receivers in each room. But I think Debo and Ayuk are such a great compliment towards each other.
Yeah, I definitely think that CD kind of, I'm not going to say that he equals Ayuk and Debo together, but I don't know. It's close. It is close at the end of the day. Yeah. I see another year what Brock Purdy is going to do. I mean, I know I got a full season of it last year. He did really well, but it's another year that teams got tape on him, right? So we'll see what he does now that the defenses in the NFL have another year to kind of see how to game plan against him. Now, I wanted to get into something that you touched on a little bit earlier. Actually, somebody in the chat had touched on it, and we're circling back a little bit here to the Week 1 matchup. But the fact that Hollywood Brown, right? I wanted to bring this up. Hollywood Brown is now a Chief. We know that, and we will be playing them Week 1 under the lights in Arrowhead. I fully expect for Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and that Chiefs offense to really try to get him involved. You know what I mean? And I think it's to really make a statement. They're dropping the banner. They want to show off their new weapon, especially since that new weapon came from the team that they're playing. I think the Chiefs are just arrogant like that, to be honest with you. At this point in their dynasty, and I'm not saying it in like a jealous way. I would love for the Ravens to do the same thing, to be the same way, right? But I think that they're kind of in that mode right now. Andy Reid is just, I think he's high on life. You know what I mean? He could not win another Super Bowl. He'd be just as happy as he's ever been, to be honest with you. He's gotten 3 with Patrick Mahomes, and exactly, and a Hawaii shirt. So, I expect them to get him involved. I really just want to ask you. I want to get your take. Who do you think, number one, is going to be guarding Hollywood Brown, and number two, do you think he has a big game against us or no?
I think it's Marlon.
Really think so? I don't think it's Marlon. It can't be Marlon. That speed is no, Marlon's not fast enough to check Hollywood Brown.
I'm saying this. I don't think it's the whole game, but Marlon is physical enough, I think, to maybe stop him outside of his route. Can get handsy with him the first 5 yards, maybe slow him down. I mean, but we saw Stevens lock up Calvin Ridley last year, and Ridley is a route technician. And then then Wiggins. Like, I don't know who, but I'd say probably Stevens started off. But I would like Humphrey in there to keep him honest, to keep him true and keep him keep it physical. But I'm gonna go Stevens, and I'm gonna go with a little bit of extra safety help, depending what type of routes they run. But I'm expecting a lot of pre-snap stuff, decoy.
Yeah.
Be the change you wish to see. Says the Ravens better study Deshaun Jackson and the Eagle plays with Andy Reid. That definitely is an option. The way they were using him.
Well, I mean, I think that we have the advantage in this matchup because when you're playing against a team who want to utilize their deep threat as much as the Chiefs, they want their deep threat back, right? They miss Tyreek Hill. If they can turn Hollywood Brown into 60 to 70% of Tyreek was, I think they would be very satisfied. So again, I think they're going to try to get him very much so involved, and they're going to try to take the top off the defense, starting with the Ravens defense week 1. But again, I think that the Ravens match up well because they have such good safety play, right? So we have a Kyle Hamilton, we have a Marcus Williams. So we're going to be playing a lot of cover. I don't expect us to play a whole lot of single high safeties because that's dangerous when you're playing against a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, and he has those type of weapons. So yeah, I totally agree with our commenter here. He says the Ravens better study Deshaun Jackson, the Eagles plays with Andy Reid. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, well, I hope John Harbaugh is game planning for that today, like right now, like as we speak, because that will be a factor in that week 1 matchup for sure.
Yeah, and the game last year against the Cardinals, Marquise Brown went 6 catches, 33 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. I think the touchdown came against Hamilton. Good throw. Just caught Hamilton out, but kind of game was over, but it really wasn't. So I'm looking forward to that. And then obviously they have Xavier Worthy now, which the Browns just, the Bills just gave to them.
Damn.
Said here, go and be better. Be already, that's scary. And then we have to worry about Kelsey as well. Which if there's a player who is Mr. Perfect, that's Travis Kelsey right now. I am not looking forward to his little first down celebrations, his little cocky arrogantness, but it's gonna happen. When you're the best of all time. Yeah, but remember, you can't retaliate because you will get a flag, just like we saw in the AFC Championship. He can do it, but you can't. Once again, offense versus defense. I'm gonna say, offense, they can celebrate. Let the defense do a little seatbelt celebration, a little too hard. 15-yard penalty. All I'm gonna say.
Now, I do like. Yeah, go ahead.
He says Stevens on Brown, Wiggins Worthy, Kelsey Hamilton. I think I don't hate it. And you have Marlon as well.
Yeah.
And Millette.
And Millette. Exactly. But no, Wiggins versus Worthy, I definitely expect that. TJ Tampa. That's right. We've got some rookies who man, depending on how they do in training camp and then of course preseason as well, I would love to see them on the field in that week 1 matchup. It's going to be, man, I just really wonder how different the Ravens coaches are going to game plan for a week 1 matchup under the lights on opening night and Thursday night versus a week 1 matchup 1 p.m. at CBS. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's different, the pressure's on a little bit. Everybody's watching. This is a true test. I think while I say I don't care about this game because it's in the regular season, yada, 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 this is a true test for John Harbaugh right here, to be honest with you. Like, this is, hey, like, are you going to make the adjustment? Like, yes, we get it. We got a long ways to go until the playoffs, but this is the first game of the season. Are you going to make the necessary adjustments to beat this team? Or are you going to continue letting them be the boogeyman in your team's life? Like, which one? Right? So you have to, we'll see what happens with Harb. See what happens, but good point there, J1213. I like those matchups.
Jay said this is a test for Zach Orr. Can you imagine your first game as a defensive coordinator against the back-to-back Super Bowl champions with the fastest player coming out of college in history, with the greatest tight end of all time and arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, greatest offensive mastermind coach guru of all time? That right there, Jay, that's a fantastic point right there. Yeah. And then I think, personally, I think this is a great chance for Zay Flowers to right his wrongs. Zay Flowers, that fumble, he probably thinks about it before he goes to sleep 5 out of the 7 nights of the week. Great chance for you to, I know it's not the same situation, but kind of show you've matured and show you're ready to take that next step in year 2, even greater than the rookie season you had, which was an all-time best for a Ravens rookie receiver.
Yeah. Do we want to make some way too early bold predictions for this game?
Why not?
Yeah. Okay, I'll go first. I'm gonna say, give me, and this is a very, very bold prediction, right? Very bold, but I'm standing on it. Give me a Kyle Hamilton pick six. Give me a Kyle Hamilton pick six. I see it. I think he gets his revenge from the AFC Championship game. Listen, man. I think the Chiefs are going to be trying to experiment. Patrick Mahomes, more specifically, is going to be trying to experiment with this new receiving core that he's got and the kind of weapons he's dealing with Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown. I feel like he lays a couple of them up there, or maybe he tries to throw out of a sack or something like that. Kyle Hamilton will be right there. Kyle Hamilton going into his third season, I expect him to fully emerge as the league's best safety, like hands down, to be honest with you. So yeah, give me a Kyle Hamilton pick six.
Wow. I have one for each side of the ball. South Film
Okay.
defense real quick. Give me a Trent Simpson sack. Give me a Trenton Simpson sack. He is explosive, and we saw just a glimpse of it against the Steelers last year, but that's kind of only film on him. And I don't think, obviously you watch everybody, but when you look at the Ravens defense, you look at who's going to, give us the biggest nightmares. Justin Madubuike, maybe, the guy with 13 sacks last year. Kyle Hamilton, like you said, arguably top 3 safety in the league right now, wherever you want to put him. Not mad at that. A Roquan Smith, a top 2 linebacker in the league, and you have all these little pieces in the secondary of Marcus Williams, but Trent Simpson's pretty low on that list. So I would like to see him, maybe get around a tackle, use that freaking burst of speed he has, and get to the quarterback. That would be very nice. And then for my offensive prediction,
okay,
give me a. I'm gonna fall in the trap again, but goddamn it, I love this man a lot, and you know who it is, Mr. Bateman. Mr. Bateman, you're gonna get a touchdown in your first game. You're gonna equal how many touchdowns you had last year. Zach, I love that prediction. 100 yards and a touchdown. I love it. I think their secondary losing Snead, it's a big loss. So I think they'll be focused on Zay. You're going to be focused on Mark Andrews, I say it likely, but Bate, it's your year. And no way to start it off better than a touchdown. And who knows, maybe 100 yards on Thursday Night Football against defending champions. I love it.
Yeah, I love that too, Alex. Bateman, if Rashad Bateman can get going early, if we can get him his confidence early on in the season and have him building on that, the entire season, we will be such a dangerous team. I mean, we're already a dangerous football team. We're going to do well in the regular season. I expect us to get, we'll do our schedule predictions on the next episode. Where, by the way, last year when we did our schedule predictions, when the schedule dropped, we were very, very accurate on accurately predicting the Ravens' final record. I think, we were. I think Alex might have been one off, and I was like spot on, something like that, or maybe the other way around.
Yeah, I think it's either you were spot on. I know. I had us at 12 wins. I had us 12-5.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at it, but we were really close. Yeah, we were really, really close. So definitely stay tuned for that episode. But man, if we can get Bateman involved early and often in this season, I think it's going to really bode well for our offense. And I think that Todd Monken has to be very, very intentional about getting this guy involved in the offense because, I've talked about it numerous times on this podcast. First round pick, right? A couple of years ago, we have not gotten nearly the return on investment that we want out of Rashad Bateman, but we know the talent is there. He's coming off of a season where he did not get hurt, right? So this is another season for him to kind of build off of being healthy. So I think we got to get him involved, man. And what, like you said, to your point, the Chiefs are going to be keying in on guys like Zay Flowers, guys like Mark Andrews, likely. So yeah, I think it's definitely an opportunity for Bateman to step up. Let me see some other bold predictions here from the Rain Gang. Let me see.
I see him in the chat.
Chike says David Ajabo gets a strip sack. Okay, that would be crazy. Strip sack on Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is really good.
In the games Ojabo plays, Week 18, 2022, strip sack against the Bengals. Week 1, 2023, strip sack against the Texans. So
yeah.
I don't hate it. I mean, when he's healthy, he produces, but that's the biggest question mark with him.
Let me see. Our guy Dre says, I'm going Ravens 20-13. I have a feeling we blow them out. I, I have a feeling too. I have a feeling we win by maybe 10, 15 points, to be honest with you. But I think that's just going to be typical Ravens. Exactly. Week 1, we come out smoking hot. I mean, all season we're going to be good, rolling teams, and it's just all about we'll see what happens in January, right? That's what it comes down to this season. So this season is going to be very, very interesting. You're going to have to take every win with a grain of salt. And I know we've been kind of doing that the past couple of years because we've kind of been suffering the same fate the past couple of seasons. But I definitely think that with the additions that we made, especially with Derrick Henry, I think Derrick Henry will be the catalyst this year. People forget Derrick was a top 3 running back last year. Still, at this point in his career, he was a top 3 running back. So I think that him going into the Ravens offense, which is the best running offense in the league, and it has been for the greater part of the last decade, right? 2 decades, damn near. So I think he's going to do really well, and I think that's going to take our team over the top. But I definitely agree here with Dre. We can blow them out.
I haven't been hearing a lot about Derrick Henry to the Ravens. I feel like it's kind of gone under the radar, per se. I sometimes forget he's a Raven. Like, it's not really being talked about that much, I think. Do you feel the same way? Like, it happened, like that week was cool, and since then, like, it's kind of died down.
I think the main reason is because that's just kind of the flow of the offseason, right? Like, we have, the season ends, and then we have free agency that opens up. And that's like a big news cycle, and then that dies down a little bit. And then you have the draft, and that's a huge news cycle, right? And so everything from free agency kind of gets put on the back burner. Like, there's a lot of guys who, kind of moved around in free agency that I probably forgotten about right now, to be honest with you. I have to go and like kind of look it up again. But, a lot happens. And like Jeremiah says here, Henry is high in plain sight. And, I love that. I think that another bold prediction of mine will be that Derrick Henry will probably have, I'm going to say 12 plus carries. And that's not necessarily a bold prediction, but I think that the Ravens will be more intentional about getting him involved and getting him, getting him to wear down the Chiefs defense early on. You know what I mean? I think that one thing we definitely did not do last year was we did not use the brute force that we know that we can as a running football team with Gus Edwards and with, a Justice Hill and, our rushing attack last year. We just did not do that. So I think that we definitely feed Henry. Give me 12 plus carries.
I think, all right, first play, are we going to go Derrick Henry, dive up the middle, or are we going to go pass?
That's a good question.
I have my exact play I think is going to happen and who it's going to go to.
Are we starting from the 25?
Yeah, we are because we have a new kick returner, whoever that may be, whether it be a Justice Hill or somebody else. And I think, Harbs is like, you know what? Let it go. Or Deontay Hardy, let it go. Let's not try to do anything stupid, and let's just give him 25 for our first possession of the year.
This is a good question. It's a good question, but I think that Todd Monken, I think he's the type of guy who he's going to want to keep the Chiefs defense and Spagnuolo on their toes. So I see a pass. I see a quick pass on first down.
Okay.
I see it going to probably Rashad Bateman. Give me Rashad Bateman. I know that's probably a long shot, but give me like a quick pass on first down to Rashad Bateman. Give me that one, for like a first down. Yeah.
I love that. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking low PA. All right. Isaiah freaking Likely. I think he is due. He's in for a big year. I really do. I think the way we saw him step up without Andrews, I thought he was fantastic. And I think he gets rewarded. And I think he'll probably have probably there's backup linebacker on him. And Likely just gets open over the middle. And he has that low wiggle he has. It's first down. That's my prediction. If you guys have yours, drop in the chat. But it's just, kind of fun to talk about now with Henry in the backfield. And we've had Monken already. We've had Monken for what? A year now. It's his first year last year. So kind of just trying to understand its offense, what he liked. So kind of fun to speculate about.
Yeah. Let me see. So we got Taquan Christian in the house. Says, what's up, Brain Gang? Sutton and Alex. says he's officially back from the passing of his grandmother. Very, very sorry to hear about that,
Yes.
Taquan. Definitely prayers up to you and your family. You know, we're family here at the Rain Gang. If you ever need
We
anything, you
are.
ever need to talk to anybody, you can reach out to either Alex or myself. And we're all just a big, happy community here. So I'm sure that the Rain Gang will definitely wrap their arms around you as well. But thank you for coming through. As
Thank
usual,
you.
you are greatly appreciated, brother. All right. So, okay, a few more things we got to get into before we get out of here of this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. I wanted to, you brought it up earlier, Alex. This guy, Jared
Yeah.
Goff, right? This is your guy, by the way. This is Alex's guy. For those of you guys who just
Love
started
him.
watching the Purple podcast, Alex is a big Jared Goff and a Lions fan. It's pretty much his second team. You'll see throughout the season he roots for them
Yeah.
pretty consistently, unless they're
Yeah.
playing the Ravens and we're blowing them out. But
Exactly.
yeah, what did you think of the Lions signing Jared Goff to this 4-year, $212 million extension with $170 million guaranteed? He's now a higher paid quarterback than Lamar Jackson. Is he better than Lamar Jackson? Hell no, to me. But what did you think about the signing?
The crazy thing is Lamar is gonna get another big contract. I would like that's the craziest thing. Like he'll still be at a really good age when his contract now goes up. But I'm happy for Mr. Goff. Uh, it kind of goes to show, in situations when you handle it with class and with respect, good things happen to you. He was basically shipped off to Detroit for his career to die with Dan Campbell. Nobody knew what type of coach he'd be, and they went what 2-15 their first year, almost beat us in that Week 3 game in 2021, but there were signs there. And then this year after that, I think 8-9, but they look good. They beat the Packers in Aaron Rodgers' final game, and then last year take the NFC by storm, make the NFC Championship. If Dan Campbell doesn't go for it on fourth down, we could be talking about a whole different story right now. But he didn't. He went for it. And now Goff gets paid. They paid Amon-Ra St. Brown. They paid Penei Sewell. Their core is intact. They're doing it the right way. They still got Jamison Williams, who I think will have a pretty good year this year. And they just have a good team all around. So kudos to you, Mr. Goff. I am very proud of you. I know you don't know me, but I'm proud of you, and I will keep rocking behind you, Mr. Goff. But happy for him. I guess that's what happens when you buy into the eating of kneecaps.
Yeah. I mean, it really. I mean, now that you bring up kind of the story behind the Detroit Lions, at least the postmodern Detroit Lions, it's a great story, man. It really is a feel good story. Like you said, Dan Campbell getting paired up with Jared Goff. Nobody really expected anything to come out of that, but literally last year they're in the NFC Championship game, trying to get into the Super Bowl, and I fully expect them to be a huge contender this year. I think that their confidence, their juice, kind of as a team, has been building. This has been brewing for the past couple of seasons, and it's coming to a head now. And like you said, they have their nucleus intact. And I like Jared Goff as a quarterback. He's solid. He's not. I guess how are we comparing Jared Goff to a Dak Prescott? Because Dak Prescott is kind of like the baseline here. So how do you compare? Jared Goff is your guy, but be honest. How do you compare Jared Goff to Dak Prescott?
Got to have some guys around him. Got to a Super Bowl. Shit the bed. 3 points. So he at least got there. Shit, Dak can't even get there. Dak can't get to the championship game. And Goff's done it. 2 different teams. Goff won a playoff game as a backup, came in for John Wolford and won a playoff game, I think with a messed up hand, Goff did. I'm putting him above him. It could be 12-11. I mean, I think after last year, Goff top 10. I think he definitely has a shout for the way he played. But I'm putting him above Dak.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, now that you bring up, he's been to 2 conference championship games with 2 different teams. Yeah, that is pretty impressive, to be honest with you. So I would put him above Dak. Maybe not that much above him, like I said, but I would definitely rank him above Dak.
Yeah.
Let me see here. I think I had what else did I have in here? Oh, no, there was a tweet that I saw earlier about basically the stats between comparing Jared Goff to Matthew Stafford post that trade happened. And their stats are damn near identical. It was kind of wild to see. But their stats are identical. Did you see that? Did you happen to come across that tweet or no?
I did not.
Let me see if I have it.
But I think for me, that trade, I think the Rams won it overall because they got a ring out of it, but the Lions got a team back, which is crazy. Oh, here it is.
Yeah. So you can see here since the 2021 trade, they have the same amount of wins at 24, the exact same completion percentage, the same amount of turnovers, the same amount of success rate. Goff has got 3 more touchdowns than Matthew Stafford. They've got about the same amount of sacks taken, -1. And it goes on and on and on. That's kind of wild to think about, and you kind of look in hindsight if you are a Lions fan or if you are a Rams fan, kind of thinking who won kind of that exchange there. They kind of both did. You know what I mean? I don't know.
They got what they wanted out of it. The Rams were all in for a championship, and the Lions were rebuilding. The Lions rebuilt. The Rams won a Super Bowl. They both got I mean, the Rams, they have the edge because they got the Super Bowl, 100%.
Right.
But when you look at it, that's the Lions sold out all their season tickets this year. The Detroit Lions
Already, yeah.
The same
They're
Detroit
hungry.
Lions who not too long ago paper bags over. The same Detroit Lions who Justin Tucker kicks a 66-yard field goal, and their fans are just distraught because they didn't know when they were going to win a game. They thought, they were never going to get it. Good for them.
Yeah. Good for them. Everybody wins in that trade there. Like you said, Rams got their Super Bowl. Lions have fully rebuilt, and they're major contenders in this league now. So win-win situation there. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's get some questions going down below in the chat. And listen, if you are watching this episode 239 of the Purple Rain podcast, after the fact, you're part of the hashtag replay gang, make sure you leave your comments, your questions, your concerns down below in the comments section, please. And thank you. But okay, let's see here. I think was there another schedule leak that happened? I could have sworn there was.
Boz, I think he was talking about the Steelers and Falcons week 1. Oh, Marquez Valdes-Scantling visiting the Bills.
Interesting. Okay. Bills trying to bolster that wide receiver room.
That screams Sammy Watkins to the Ravens. Screams it.
I don't know. I kind of like MVS. He's cool. He's definitely not a bad wide receiver 3 option. You know what I mean?
He iced our season last year.
Yeah, you're right. He did. So, yeah, bad memories. Let me see. But there was one more schedule though. Who did you say it was?
Steelers Falcons.
Steelers Falcons. Okay. Steelers versus Falcons. That's an interesting one too. We won't get to see Penix, of course. They'll be starting Kirk Cousins, but for me, and then with the Steelers, Russell Wilson will be starting. We won't see Justin Fields. I mean, both of those teams kind of have a quarterback that they just have kind of waiting in the wings, to kind of just, just step up and just take that starting role these days. But I think that game, I see the Steelers winning it. And I think that the Falcons realize that, okay, we're probably going to have to move on from Kirk Cousins a little bit earlier than we thought we wanted to. And we're going to have to go with Michael Penix because Kirk Cousins, he's another one of the quarterbacks. Again, you like him, but he has no X factor, right? He's efficient. He's not going to make too many mistakes, but there's no X factor. I don't think that he can really – and again, I don't think the team around him is good enough. It's not like he's on a 49ers or something like that where – the rest of the team is just going to kind of carry him. The system is going to carry him to late postseason success. But yeah, I have the Steelers winning that game though.
So do I. I'm kind of worried though. Like, am I going to fall in the Kyle Pitts as my tight end in fantasy this year trap? It's like, well, he actually has a quarterback that might throw to him. I don't want to fall in that trap. Yeah.
No.
I want Kelsey, Kittle, or Andrews as my tight end this year.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on who you pick.
Laporta.
Laporta is going to be a steal. Who's the other one? I think Dalton Kincaid is going to be a steal in this year's draft for sure. So there's a couple of guys.
Was Evan Ingram last year with the Jags?
Ingram with the Jags, he was pretty good for a little while. But
Dalton
no,
Schultz,
let's see.
Texans.
Dalton Schultz, right? Yeah, I think him and CJ Stroud are definitely going to have a big connection going this year too. Okay, let me see. What do we have on screen here? What is this about Tua? Tua seems like a lock for at least $50 million per season now. Oh yeah, Tua hasn't signed that big deal yet, right? So it'll be interesting to see what the Dolphins decide to give him. But I don't know. If I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm not sold on Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not sold on him being the guy to really will us through a postseason and get us to a Super Bowl and win Super Bowl. He just doesn't really seem like that guy.
Jalen Waddle has to get paid. I'm thinking about. I mean, they have such a good team, name wise. But once that weather gets under 70 degrees, who are these Miami Dolphins? And I don't know. I genuinely do not know who these Miami Dolphins are. I want to think that Tua can go in there and win a playoff game, but he wasn't healthy for his first one and looked awful in his second one.
Yeah.
They're a question mark. Tua to me, obviously Jared Goff had more success, but I feel like Mike McDaniel would definitely like ship off Tua to bring in like a guy who he knows can get it done with the Dolphins.
I agree. I think that he kind of secretly wants that, but like the organization, they want to continue. Like Tua's in that weird spot where he produces, right, and he kind of is a merchant. He's a beneficiary of the weapons that he has. Like Tyreek Hill makes him look a lot better than he is, I think, a lot of the time. But at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is Tua, it seems like he can only really win one way if things are really going according to plan. If the offensive line is really doing their thing that particular game, because he's not a big scrambling guy, he's not a big guy either. So conditions really have to be right, and that's why they kind of do a lot of timing routes. They kind of get things. They try to scheme their guy open and get them the ball quicker than most other teams do, or either that or they're doing late developing routes with Tyreek Hill over the top. But if it's not winning either of those two ways, I just don't really see a whole lot of avenues for them to really contend with a lot of the powerhouses in the AFC, especially like the Texans, Ravens, the Chiefs, even hell, the Bills in their division still. I think that's going to be a tough 2 games for them this year. So we'll see how all that goes. But let's go ahead and get into some questions here to go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Again, thank each and every one of you guys for coming out to this episode of the show, episode 239. We have a question. This one's coming from Lisa Ann, longtime watcher of the show. Thank you so much, Lisa. Says, will Lamar Jackson get 4,000 passing yards this season? 4,000 passing yards this season, Alex? What do you think?
It's funny because you see some really dumb takes about sports online, and people are saying here that Lamar hasn't had a 4,000 yard passing season. I don't think he does. I think we have Derrick Henry now. I hope. I mean, if he does, that'd be cool and all, but as long as we're a 12-13 win team, really all I care about. Our game isn't throwing 500 yards.
No.
Not what Tua does, not what Dak does, not what Kirk Cousins would do with the Vikings. We have a healthy balance we talk about. So I don't think he does. I think it'll be probably 3,800, which as long as we're winning, I don't care how we win. That's kind of what I'm going to live by. And as long as it can translate into the playoffs, it's funny, Lamar will throw for more in the playoffs because we're throwing it all the time. I'd rather, be lower because how efficient he looks. Like the Texans game. Ran for 2, threw for 2. Wasn't a 400-yard 2-touchdown game, but it got the job done, and we beat him 34-10. So I don't think he does, but it's not for him being bad. It's our brand of football.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think to assume that or to predict that the Ravens or that Lamar Jackson is going to get 4,000 passing yards would be to assume that the Ravens are going to be in a lot of shootouts this season. And I don't really see that happening. I really see that the Ravens, especially with the teams that aren't quite on the Ravens level in terms of talent, they probably jump out to an earlier lead and they lean on teams with the run game, which means less passing numbers for Lamar Jackson. So, yeah, I mean, I think that he probably finishes the season around maybe 30, somewhere between 33 and 36. If I had to guess, I think it's a big running year. That's why we got a Derrick Henry. We're going to, kick the bit on those tires and see what he's got for the next couple of seasons, because our Super Bowl window is now. It is right now, so we're going to have to use him. Unfortunately, we'll have Keaton Mitchell going into the season, because I would like to see a very, very healthy mix between Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell to kind of save and preserve a Derrick Henry for the playoffs, So hopefully we'll see what Todd Monken has in store for that, and see if he can kind of get Derrick Henry his carries, but not run him into the ground. You know what I mean? But either way, I think that the running game will be more prevalent than the passing game, and that will stop Lamar Jackson from getting 4,000 yards.
I know earlier in the episode, Boz asked about a PQ sack week 1. Yes, he's gotten a sack every week 1 of his career. I don't see why that would stop this year.
That's an interesting stat. I didn't know
he
that.
Does get a sack. Yep, every year. So I think he does get one for your Steelers, Boz.
Interesting. Boss says here, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. And also remember, if you have a question, if you're watching this and you're part of the hashtag replay game, make sure you leave your question down below in the comment section. But we are going to go ahead and leave you here for this episode of the Purple Rain podcast, episode 239. Thank you guys so much for coming through. Listen, schedule releases on Wednesday. So Thursday is a very, very important episode, because we'll be doing our full schedule release breakdown. We're going to give our record predictions for the Ravens going into the season. And again, last season, we were damn near 100% on it. I mean, we were very close. You're not going to want to miss what we have to say about that. I think we'll be very close again this year. Honestly, I think the past 2 years, we were really close. I'd have to go and look. But I know last year we were like spot on, like one off or perfect, something like that. So yeah, make sure you tune into that episode. In the meantime, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. And with that being said, I'm gonna let my guy Alex take us out.
Thank you for coming through to this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. As always, follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain podcast. Follow this guy on Instagram, on Twitter at Sutton Def. Follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod and on Twitter at simplyas10. And most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. I know if you watch UFC, you would see Derek Lewis taking his pants off, waving him around, fanning the guy on the ground, knocked out, throwing his cup in the crowd. Manscaped. His balls were hot. All right.
The cup in the
deodorant,
crowd
so they smell good.
Oh my god.
Throwing your cup is insane. But thank you for coming through to episode 239 of the Purple Rain podcast. As always, stay positive, test negative.
Yeah, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainy days, Paul, episode 239 of the Purple Rain podcast.